Welcome to the Desert Wanderers podcast. If you're new here, we bridge the gap between you and the person in the pew next to you. I interview priests, religious, and laity in our local Boise diocese, asking questions that'll help you navigate your vocation and build community wherever you are with whatever resources you may have. Let's build the city of God together. Welcome, Kathy. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast this morning. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to talk to you today, but we're going to be talking about friendship and especially adult friendship and how to kind of create those friendships. But for anyone that doesn't know you, can you give us your professional and expertise background and as well as kind of like your vocation story a little bit?
Okay. First and foremost, I'm a mom. That's my proudest vocation. He's 24 and told me to get a life a long time ago. Bless his heart. But I was a lawyer originally. I was a prosecutor, and then I went out on my own, opened my own firm. I did family law and criminal law. And for several years, I was doing divorce and custody things. And then I started realizing I'm Catholic. And I don't like divorce. And I also started realizing a lot of folks during divorces don't necessarily focus on their children's best interests. And I had to represent my client, right, regardless, and advocate for what they wanted, even if I personally thought not good for the kids. So right in the middle of there, I started going back to school for psychology, got my master's, got the doctorate eventually in forensic psychology, and now I do evaluations for the court system in family law cases. And I think not only am I repenting a little bit, right, for my work as a divorce attorney, but also I see it as more productive. I can tell families what's helpful and what's not. I can advise the court on what orders they could craft that help this family. Even when they're not together anymore, it helps them still be a family for the children.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
It's a good life. It's stressful, don't get me wrong, but I feel productive every day.
It feels like it probably was pretty emotionally heavy, but at the same time, again, like you're saying, it's rewarding to see that there is going to be a difference, or there needs to be a difference to see how, you know.
And hopefully they'll take my feedback in the spirit in which it's intended and implement it for their kids.
So this is so this is someone, I guess the people that you work with in these cases, are they like prior to like the foster care system, or, because that's kind of where
Some
my
of
head
them
goes.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, for a while I did work with a counseling agency where we specialized in treating foster children. And that was, again, heartbreaking sometimes, but a great job because you could really help these families. These folks that I work with now within the court system are getting a divorce or modifying their custody order. Often, though, there are maybe a companion criminal case or a companion child protection case along with it. Not often, but sometimes, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of moving parts for them.
How do you feel like your two backgrounds in law and psychology have paired together in your work?
Both very well, and in a really disjointed manner. They support what I'm doing. It's lovely to have the legal background when you're working within the court system doing psychological tasks. It's not imperative, but it's really helpful. Mm-hmm. I have a comfort level that other folks who do this work may not have. Mm-hmm. At the same time, psychology and law are very different. Law is very adversarial, black and white, advocate. Psychology is very much calmer, more neutral. You evaluate, you assess, you provide interventions. As a forensic psychologist, I don't provide treatment, I provide recommendations for treatment. Mm-hmm. So it's just a different approach. So I had to go from being the combative lawyer to the productive psychologist, and it was an interesting transition. Yeah.
Okay, so in your I'm assuming with your work, a lot of the cases that you have, part of it is preserving family relationships, right? Because those relationships are so important to children. But how do friendships apply in these situations? And then we'll kind of get into our talk today, which is, friendships in adulthood. But why is it so important for kids to have these relationships, not only with your family, like your core family, which is like the biggest relationship you have, but why is it important for kids to have friends outside of that can help support them?
Relationships of the child is one of the primary areas of focus of my evaluations, because who they spend time with is everything for kids. For example, if they have an unfortunate home life, but they have friends at school that love them, one supportive adult they connect with, that can make the difference in outcomes over a lifetime, in having interactions with the juvenile system or not, in going to college or not. So their friendships make a huge difference to them. Who they spend time with kind of dictates what they do and where they go.
Well, and that kind of brings us to our point today, which is friendships today. I think that's very similar as an adult too, right? Your friendships help either push you or pull you where you're going to go. I think, isn't there some, I don't know who said this, but it was like, you're the sum of your 5 closest friends.
Right. And it's true. Look around you. Right? If there's also a saying, if if someone's the jerk in the situation, right? Look to your left if they're not it. Look to your right if they're not it. Be willing to consider that you're the jerk, right? But when you're considering friends, think about that, right? Is there a friend in your world that constantly does things that aren't healthy, productive, holy? Why are you with them? Are you trying to help them? That's one thing. But are you being influenced negatively by them? That's another. Do they want help? Right? Do they want guidance? Or are they determined to stay on that unfortunate path? Because your friends really can shape what you do as an adult as well.
Yeah. There's, speaking of like looking at yourself, there's this woman called Laura Doyle, and she has a book called The Empowered Wife. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but one of the things she talks about is she's like, yeah, if you're, really miserable, she's like, and you realize that you're on your own page. Like, basically, you're focused on everyone else. She's like, maybe if you just like look at yourself, you might realize there's
might
something there.
You
like,
might figure it out.
Yeah, you're not an innocent party as you think you are.
You
right?
are making the choice to be there too.
Yeah, so it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, a little personal responsibility goes a long way.
Right. And then also, another thing in her book that she advocates for a lot about is having people that support you. And she's talking about marriage, right? Like, her whole thing is, how can you improve yourself in your marriage? It's not about like improving your spouse or anything, but it's like, how can you improve yourself? And she's like, look at your friends. Like, are they tearing your spouse down? Like, you shouldn't be hanging around those friends.
Yeah,
like, if they're tearing your spouse down, right?
That's not healthy. And are you tearing your spouse down to them?
Right. And that's part of her thing as well. But she's like, especially if they're like, when you bring up some hurt that your spouse has done to you, are they like jumping on, or are they like giving that person grace?
Like, maybe he was thinking this, or
right. Exactly.
Right. I understand that you're stressed about that. I would be too. Yeah. But we both know his heart, right? I'm sure he didn't mean that. Yeah. Like, helping instead of piling gas on the fire.
Yeah. Who else says that? So, Cameron Fradd, I remember listening to her podcast a long time ago, and that was one of her biggest pieces of advice to young women who are thinking about, being married, or thought their vocation was marriage. She said, find friends that will defend your husband no matter what.
Yes.
She's like, that's what you need in your life. So, yeah, I think it's really important who our friends are. But I guess when we talk about friendship, what is the main purpose of friendship this podcast, I'm going to kind of target it towards, I'm going to say young and adult to even like maybe in your 60s. Okay, yeah. So it's like your adult
lifetime.
Your adult life. I think it's easier for children to make friends just because of situation and getting lumped into different activities together. But I think once you have to make your own decisions in your own schedule, it can be harder to have friends. So thinking of that kind of age group, what is the purpose of friendship?
It depends on the person. On a basic level, we are social creatures. We need each other. even if you are the biggest introvert on the planet, nothing wrong with that. I'm one. Even then, you still need social interaction on a regular basis. Humans become psychotic without it. If we are in isolation too long without environmental stimulation and social interaction, it's literally that important.
You said environmental stimulation, so like going outside, is that as well, or like
noise and interaction? For example, when they hold, I hate that I know about studies like this, but they hold people in silent isolation tanks and test to see how they do. Not well, by the way. So you need noise, light, sound, movement, and you need people.
Interesting.
And again, even if you're an introvert, that's fine. We like our alone time, but we also need contact with people.
Yeah.
And again, regularly. So friendships are a way of ensuring regular contact. They're a way of providing support in your life, providing it to them and receiving it from them. There's this hormone called oxytocin that I love and I talk about all the time. We call it the cuddle hormone. It's a stress hormone. It's actually produced when your body is having a stress response. But what it does is promote the desire to reach out to other humans and connect so that you can offer support or get needed support. And so we're biologically programmed to seek out others in times of need and to provide that support too. And so having that connection, even with one or two special others in your life, is all we really need. But we do need that very much.
And are there different types or levels of friendship as well? I think we all have an understanding that there is, but what are those different levels and what do they look like?
I work with clients a lot on this. Sometimes clients come in and they're devastated because as an adult, maybe they've just gotten a divorce and their friend groups change and they're all of a sudden wondering, do I have any friends at all? Well, what is a friend? What are you looking for? Some people approach it with the idea that it has to be someone who is my bestie, who I share everything with. You're not going to find that all the time. Instead, you might find one person who shares this interest, one person who shares that interest, one person who goes to your church and shares 2 or 3 interests, one person who has kids your age. It's important to cultivate friendships with a wide variety of people because that meets a wide variety of needs. No one person should be held responsible for meeting all your needs. Yeah,
there's this social media post that I saw a while back at this point, but this woman, I have no idea what her background is or anything, but it was just a clip from a podcast, and she was basically saying, like, it's kind of unfair that either spouse, male or female, will say, like, you need to be my workout buddy, and you need to be my hiking, my food buddy, and like whatever.
All the buddies.
And they're like, she's like, all of those relationships are really, really good, but they shouldn't fall on one person. Yeah, that's like too much for one person to fill, and you'll never be satisfied, basically.
Ever. And so it's actually a part of our overall mental health to have adult friendships.
Yeah.
Right? Our friend, our partner, our spouse is important. We must have friendships outside the marriage. So again, we're not placing all the burden on one person or all of our expectations on one person, because then we'll just continually be disappointed.
Right. And how does our family involved with our friendships? Like, do they become friends, or is your family like very different? Is it different than normal friendships?
It depends on families. I know families that they're friends too, right? They do everything with their cousins. Like when they have a barbecue for the neighborhood, their cousins come too, right? I have folks who only see their family members on Thanksgiving and Christmas. It depends on the relationship you've cultivated over time. Ideally, you have friends that are compatible with your family and vice versa, because you're being consistent about you and who you spend time with and who you are. That being said, if maybe you have an unhealthy family of origin, you may want to seek friends that are not like your family, right? So they might not be compatible.
Right.
Depends on your situation, but it just, again, it varies so greatly. It's healthy for kids in a family if their parents have friends that are welcome around other family members and everybody integrates and gets along.
Yeah. It's a pretty good example, I think. Yeah. Okay, so then why is it so easy for kids to make friends, but it feels like it's really hard for us, especially the older you get, right? I know I have a family member who's in their 60s, and they're like, we just don't have any friends. Like,
it's different when you're an adult. Right? As a kid, number one, you're usually just open. The world hasn't closed you off yet. You haven't learned, you haven't had the life experience to give you that level of hesitation that a lot of adults have. Some kids have it, and when I see that, it's heartbreaking. But generally, kids are more open to friendship. My son, what I loved, he'd come home. He started going to St. Paul's, and he would come home every day. I met my friend so-and-so today. I met my friend so-and-so today. Everybody was his friend. He liked everybody. There was another boy named Ethan in his class, and he kept coming home talking about redheaded Ethan Schleep. And I couldn't understand what he was saying, and I thought he had an imaginary friend named Ethan because he's a redheaded Ethan. No, there was a boy named Ethan Schleep in his class. A true new friend. But kids also then get exposed to more situations where you can make friends. We put them in activities. They go to school. They do sports. They do clubs. As an adult, you're not generally, you're working, right? Or you're going to school full-time and working full-time, or raising a family and working. So you don't have a lot of social interactions to meet people. You could go to the bars, but that's not really thrilling for a lot of us, right? And I work with adults on this all the time, and I tell them, try activities you like. Community ed class on canning. There's a pottery store down the street that does classes, free classes, and anybody can just come in and you'll meet fun people who like to do pottery. And there's a hiking group, right? So you have to, though, make a lot of effort as an adult to go out and meet people, but you don't have to make as kids.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about being closed off, part of it is being scared of, like, I think that you grow up and you have situations where you are rejected, and then it's really hard to adjust after that rejection.
It is. It makes you afraid.
Yeah.
And I understand that, right? There's no bad feeling, right? They're necessary. And all it's telling you is be cautious about your friend choices.
Yeah. What do you say? Do you think that people need to prioritize social events more than in their life? Because, I mean, work, high priority. Spouse, kids, high priority. You know, your like other responsibilities. It almost feels like when you become an adult and you have all these new responsibilities, right? Of, oh, I have rent to pay and
all the
things, even if you don't have kids, right? Like, we're talking about young adults that are out of their parents' house. I mean, even if they're in their parents' house, they still have to manage their schedule differently. Right. But I do think once you get these responsibilities, I feel like it's hard to prioritize social events or social outings. But
it feels like you're wasting time, and I put that in air quotes, right? Yeah. You should, in fact, prioritize. Not all the time, but I work with people and say, once a week, try to connect with some other humans for a period of time where you're relaxing, learning something, teaching something, having fun, just being a human. An hour, right? My friends know that I will probably accept an invitation every 3 times. Introvert. Right. I love being invited and welcome, but I'll go about every 3 times, and I go home at 10. Yeah. And that's cool, right? I'm not a late person. My bedtime's like 8 o'clock on weekdays. But I love
10 is really pushing it there.
It is, and they love that I stay out for them until 10. I have a date with friends next Friday to go listen to a band, and they said it's in Boise, and I live in Nampa, and they said, we know you're going to need to leave at 9:30, so you're back home by 10. That's okay. Thanks for coming.
Oh my god.
It's cute, right?
That's so nice, though.
It's so sweet to be seen and heard like that, right?
How do you find, how do we find friends that see and hear you? Like, because that takes time. And
it does.
And especially, I'm going to talk about introverts. I mean, I'm an extrovert, so I'm an
extroverted introvert.
No, I'm an extrovert. I'm an extrovert.
Oh,
I'm like
you are the extrovert.
I like take the extrovert, like the like Myers-Briggs or like level. Whatever, and it's like 70-80% extrovert.
Nicely
like
done.
Very little.
Nicely
introvert.
done.
Which also might just be that I didn't experience a ton of didn't perceive a ton of rejection.
Exactly.
My mom and dad were always like, yeah, we were really worried about you for a long time because people just weren't really nice to you, but you were just like in your own little
You're
world.
like, whatever, I'm me. And that's actually not bad. Like, I'm comfortable with me. If you don't want to be nice, that's on you.
Yeah. Well, but I will say, like, as an adult, I don't really have the fear of being like, I'll just talk to whoever, like in the grocery line or whatever. And
Sure.
it's easier, right? For me. Some of my other family members, not so much. So when it comes to introverts, how can they help develop into these relationships where they're more comfortable to share things and have those deeper friendships than just more of a surface, like, I know you from this situation, or maybe we like this hobby together, but we really just are very surface and we don't talk about how we feel or care, like things that are affecting us or the emotions that we have. And is that typical of more introvert, extrovert? Like, do you guys, as an introvert yourself, do you feel like you hold things more to yourself, or is it more that it's really just a recharging thing?
Both.
Okay.
I will get to a point where I am completely overstimulated by the environment and I need quiet, no people, right? Maybe no sound. Right? Maybe I just need to be in my garden. Maybe I need to be with my dog. So that's the overstimulation part. But also, I don't share a lot with people for a variety of reasons, partly from the introversion. And so when I do share, it's going to be with someone that I trust completely. And it's very difficult to get there when you're an introvert because you don't spend a lot of time with others, and it takes time and experience to develop that trust. And so it just happens over time. And it depends on the people, right? My friend Karen says introverts have friends because an extrovert found us, liked us, and adopted us. Mm-hmm. And it's true, right? It's so true. And I look at my friend group and I'm like, oh, yep, they adopted me, right? Karen and I found each other by working at the same place, two introverts, like uniting. But over time, though, you just get to know the character of the person you interact with. And as an introvert, something will appeal to you and you'll start sharing. Not with everybody, but with people who, again, appeal to qualities within you, and you feel that you can trust them with things that you share.
And I think on the other side of this, right, as an extrovert, is the I share too much.
There's a line, right?
With too many people.
And it's hard.
Have a podcast.
Here you go, right? And it's hard to know where to put that line.
Well, and I also feel like, and then this is kind of a side note, but on social media, I think that we're seeing all these like para relationships, and it's because people that are extroverts who share too much go on and share their life on the world, and then people think that they have a friendship with them when they don't, right? So there's like this false identity, or not false identity, but false relationship.
It's a false connection. Yeah,
false connection between people. So
I actually treat some teenagers who are having trouble with that right now.
Really? Yeah.
It's my YouTuber didn't email me back or didn't message me back. Do you think they're mad at me? Like, oh, friend, sweetheart, let's talk about this.
Yeah. That's really hard. I mean, because they think that, I mean, again, it's this idea of living in a digital world, right? Where people don't really live there. Like,
frequently what they present is not the real them.
Oh, very true. Yeah.
Right? And it creates this false sense of connection, and it's shifted the way we interact as adult humans. And I think damaged the quality of friendships, diminished the authenticity of connection.
I didn't even really think about this when we're talking about the young adults, is that their whole lives have been online. Like, I still have memories where cell phones didn't exist. Like, my mom was driving, and if we wanted to call,
blessed period of time,
very short in my life, right?
Pull over and use the payphone.
Yeah.
Better have a quarter or a dime. I'm that old.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying, though, is like, I do have memories of like what life, you had to remember your friends' phone numbers,
right?
To like go home and call them.
On the rotary phone.
Right.
Yes.
So all of that to say, though, is with someone that is growing up in this digital age, and I think even for my own children, that because they're also going to be living in this digital age, what can they do to like change their idea of friendship?
I work with kids on this. I prescribe homework. For example, shut down all social media for a week. Come back to me and tell me how you feel. without fail, their mood improves.
Oh my gosh,
right?
I know.
And they're like,
too.
whoa. And so then I'll, okay, now next week, you're going to have 3 in-person conversations with friends or people you want to become friends with. 3 in person. You're not going to text, you're not going to DM, you're not going to hit them up on social media. No email. You're going to have 3 in-person conversations of at least 10 minutes. Come back and tell me how you feel. Without fail, their mood improves.
Do you think this is an epidemic
yes.
on mood?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. Research is coming in on that all the time. But, I mean, anecdotally or research-based, yes, it's a generation.
How do you feel about phone calls over, like, texting? Is there, like, a progression of technology? Like, are phone calls better than text? Are texts better than, like, instant message? Which I don't know. Right. What are they, like, really that different?
Not much. Easiest way to get in a fight or be misunderstood is to text or instant message.
Okay. What about, like, I don't even know if people use Snapchat anymore. I think they do.
Kids do, and they want to hide it from their parents.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, is video call better than phone call?
Video call better than phone call better than text or Snapchat. Why? It's that connection. The statistics vary depending on the study, but up to 93% of human communication is non-verbal.
Yeah, right.
So think about that. You're getting 7% of the content when you're texting or emailing or Snapchatting.
When your boss says something like, hey, can I talk to you about, or, hey, we need to talk. Yeah, and you're like,
what did I do?
And then you call and it's like, oh, hey, I was just checking up on you because you had that health thing last week.
How you doing? But you always, like, a phone call seems to be like you're in trouble now because it's so uncommon.
Yeah. Whereas,
actually, it's the easiest way to hear somebody's tone of voice.
Right.
Inflection. You can tell if they're being humorous, joking. And then the video call is even better.
Facial expression.
And so when
Posture.
I do my family court evaluations, I always recommend video calls when possible for the non-custodial parent on their non-parenting time.
Yeah.
If at all possible, do video calls because that's the best thing to keep those kids connected.
Is that okay? So let's go back into the topic of adults. Like, when creating social events, like, so much of our technology is how we hear about events and learn about things nowadays. So what should we do? Like, how do we balance these two when it comes to making friendships now?
I actually like the convenience of little, like, Facebook groups. I have a Jeeping group or a knitting group or whatever. And so, or I have a book club, and we have a Facebook group where we post the books we're going to read and agree on dates. So that's really convenient. But we're also getting together minimum once a month and connecting as humans, as women.
Right.
And so technology can be a help in supporting your in-person relationships, but it shouldn't be a substitute for in-person relationships.
And so I want to go back to this younger generation, right? So I'm going to even say, like, just like out of high school, like college age kids, like, what kind of practical boundaries can they put around technology to help it, to make it as a tool to develop these in-person physical connections versus getting trapped in, like, even in dating, right? Where you're just like swiping through and just talking, right? Instead of meeting someone in person.
I recommend that you think of it like you were a teenager and your parents were putting rules on it. What were the rules? Hopefully your parents told you why. If not, ask them, right? Why'd you have these rules? And put rules for yourself. And I don't recommend that you put a lot of rules in your life, but make rules that, one, very few of them. 2, they apply broadly in all different situations. And 3, they improve the quality of your life. So, as an example, I have ADHD and I lose everything. So, ADHD rule, everything has a place. Everything goes immediately back in its place when I'm done with it. That way I don't lose it. I don't buy 7 of them because I keep losing things, right? Broadly applicable rule. So in friendships or when it comes to technology, I know that I tend to, if I start playing Minecraft, I'll be on there for 4 hours. That's not healthy because I have other things to do. I know that I will set an alarm and not play longer than half an hour. Ding. Right? great. And then I have to stop and I have to get up. I make the rule for me, right? So any game I'm playing, I'll do it for an hour. And then I'm done, and I have to go interact with my family or my friends, or go to the grocery store and talk to the first 3 people I meet, just so I'm getting human interaction. Whatever rule you want to make it a rule that balances everything.
Yeah.
I will go out in public with friends once a week. More would be fine, but I'll make sure I do it at least once a week.
Okay.
Right? If I feel like staying in, maybe I'll invite a friend to stay in with me. Yeah. So that I have that connection once a week. And however you structure it, nobody's going to punish you if you don't follow your own rules, but you're doing it to help yourself.
Yeah.
So when you set them up, set up a system and follow it, because it's for your own benefit.
What do you think is the most beneficial? I'm kind of asking you a question you already answered, but what are the best ways to ensure that you get that connection? So I like how you said talking to people in line, like talking to first 3 people in line.
3 people in grocery store. And I assign that as homework sometimes too.
Really?
Like people they've been self-isolating, depressed. Say, okay, so your homework this week is on 2 different days. You're going to go out and go to a store, do whatever errands you need to do, and you're going to say something nice to the first 3 people you meet. And have a very brief conversation with them about it. What
are some other pieces of homework that you give people?
All kinds. They're like, oh, you're making me think and you're making me work. Stop it. Yes, I am. Right? It was great. I'm working with a college. He's an adult, but gone back to college, has ADHD. So he's having trouble making friends. He's having trouble scheduling all his work. So I gave him homework of task chunking and calendaring his tasks. He said, no, because the ADHD brain says that's work. I said, try it for 1 week. And he came back and said, I hate you. It worked and I feel better. And while I was task chunking, sitting there in the library, somebody saw what I was doing, sat down and started talking to me, and I made a friend. Like, I don't want to say I told you so, but...
That's really funny.
It's awesome.
Do you feel like there are different... so I don't even know if they use this anymore. I think they've changed the language, but there's ADHD and there's like ADD.
Yeah, now I say ADHD/ADD. We diagnose in a category.
And what about like autism and other learning differences?
Autism is all on a spectrum. We used to have like Asperger's or different categories. It's now all on a spectrum. We talk about level 1, level 2.
Sure.
And it's just a range of different abilities.
So with all of those, how do those affect making friends?
And it's interesting. Don't assume that just because someone has autism, they can't make friends.
Oh, that's,
right?
Yeah.
Very untrue. Autism, it depends on the level of autism, where they are on the spectrum, and the impact that they have had on there's some mirror neurons that we think are at play. Mirror neurons are in your brain, and they help you understand what other people are doing and saying and why. They help promote empathy, right? They're a key to social interaction. So we think that partly is a mechanism. There are other things.
Is that more like, when you say mirror neurons, is that like getting cues from like facial expressions? Are those things?
Yeah.
Or that's what it's...
It's the thing that causes you, when you're talking with someone and they start leaning forward to talk to you more closely or more intently, you'll lean forward unconsciously to mimic their... because you want to express empathy and connection.
Right.
So in autism, again, varying abilities, sometimes they are so innocent and carefree that everybody's their friend from their perspective. Sometimes, though, there's an elevated fear, even paranoia about other people's motives, because they truly don't understand them. Oh, okay. And so that interferes with connecting, because they're just scared because they do not understand why a kid might scream from excitement, and it might be just scary to them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What about ADHD and ADD then?
That also impacts you socially. And again, it depends on the severity and whether you're being treated and taught coping skills, right? Whether you're treated with medication or not, that's dependent on your doctor and your family's decision, but there are behavioral coping skills that you can learn through therapy, right? And I always recommend those. ADHD tends to make you automatically irritable. Everything frustrates you. It's intense. And so you have to learn to manage that. I call it, I let my brain have its little fit. I know that certain things that people say or do are going to tick me off for no good reason. I know it. And I know my brain's going to go, oh, that was frustrating. And so I just let my brain have its fit. And then I say, well, what am I going to decide to do now? How am I going to decide to respond?
Is that always the case with ADHD or?
Mostly.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of ADHD, and it's pretty diagnostic.
Okay, that's really interesting because we've had I don't know if it's a threat, but I don't think my my brother and I have been diagnosed. We're very similar, and we're kind of like squirrels. We're just like bouncing all around, and like we're very happy people, and things don't really frustrate us. And everyone's like, oh, they're so ADHD, you guys always lose things,
right?
You always do,
and
all
you
this
could
stuff.
be right because you don't have to have the irritation,
but
right?
Okay, because that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's like, not required as a symptom. It's just really common.
Okay.
Really common.
And what's the difference between ADHD and ADD? Because I know they've lumped them together now.
Right.
But
So the hyperactivity portion, you can have, we talk about inattentive type, where it's mainly the squirrel. We talk about predominantly hyperactivity, where it's the physical restlessness is a huge problem. You can't sit still at a desk. You have to get up and move all the time. You can't focus because your body's telling you to move. You can have a combined presentation. And again, when I diagnose, I use a particular diagnostic code, right, as does every diagnostician, and it'll specify hyperactivity or inattentive or combination or unspecified. So we kind of do it that way.
Okay, so with them being more sensitive to criticism, how does that affect how they build friendships?
It involves some work on their part, right, because you have to take responsibility for your own emotions. And I work with people and I say, are you putting thoughts into other people's heads again? When they say, yeah, I talked to so-and-so and they were judging me. Like, what did they say? What did they do? I don't see any judgment there. Are you putting thoughts into their heads again? Are you assuming things?
How do you do? I mean, because I feel like almost everyone does that, though. So when it comes to friendships in general, how do we... It's because it's kind of like those neurons that you're talking about, right? Where you're like, okay, you're saying one thing, but your tone and like your eyes and like how you're treating me in these other ways
says
are
something entirely
else.
Different.
So
ask. When in doubt, ask. If you're in a friendship, you're there because you care, and we'd like to assume the best intent. But if you ever wonder, straight up ask.
How important is vulnerability in friendship?
Huge.
Does it depend on the level of the friendship?
Yes. If you're just like a pickleball buddy once or twice a month, you don't have to be very vulnerable at all for that. Unless you're not physically gifted like me and you're willing to trip in front of people, then you have to be a little vulnerable. But it depends on the level of friendship. But for a close connection, vulnerability is important, and authenticity. You've got to be real.
How do you encourage people to do that? Because I feel like it can be really hard.
Very difficult, and I encourage people to build that trust over time. No real, authentic, solid friendship forms instantly. You may feel that. We have all these the dopamine, right, going on, and we're just so connected to this person. But be cautious. Learn your trust over time.
What's a timeline? Like, what's an appropriate timeline? Because I feel like I could hear someone say, okay, yeah, like I am taking my time, but you might have been friends for like 5 years and hanging out with them like once a week or twice a week. Like, so like what is an appropriate amount of like time to, or what would be, could you build a scenario to say like, this isn't like, these are kind of like hints of what would be appropriate to be a little bit more vulnerable? Because I think some people can be a little more guarded, and then they'll just rely on being guarded, and they won't actually give. So like how would you encourage that, or what are some milestones to be like, okay, maybe try a little bit more at this point or that point? Right.
It tends to happen naturally if you are an authentic person and you spend time with someone who is also an authentic person and willing to invest in the friendship. You'll notice over time that you feel more comfortable sharing this or that or the other thing. And each thing you share might lead to a share later on the part of that other person, because they think about it, wow, that was neat that they shared that. I feel comfortable. And it just starts with little shares, right? When my son went to St. Paul's when he was 3, I met a group of moms. We're all still friends. We connected over our kids.
Right.
We learned to trust each other over time. We would talk about, things at school and what we could do for them or their behaviors. But over time, we started talking about us, our needs, our hopes, our fears. My son's 24, so 21 years later, we're authentic, real friends. But it took time.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about friends of the opposite sex? There's a lot of debate on this.
Mm-hmm.
Are they important? Are they not important? Are there boundaries? What does that look like?
They are just as important as any other friend, and there must be boundaries. When you think about it, I have a friend from law school, and he and his girlfriend broke up. And he had gotten a ticket to a particular play. And we are the same kind of introvert nerd. And he knew I would love the play. So he said, would you go with me? It's next week. And I don't want to not go, but I don't want to go alone. And so I talked to my man and I said, this is what's going on. Can I go? Would you be upset? I don't tend to ask for permission, but in this case, I did.
Right.
I wanted to respect him. He said, please go. But he told me later, it actually really bothered him. Really? I was out somewhere alone with a man, even though just a friend, and that's all. And I was trying to build him up after a breakup. Right. And so I haven't done that since, and I won't ask again because I know it hurt him. And so in a situation like that in the future, I'd say, can we get in? Well, you couldn't get another ticket, but I'd say, let's go to lunch and invite so-and-so and so-and-so. So it's not just me and that male friend alone. Mm-hmm. And again, not that we don't trust each other. It's just that thought of me hanging out with another man just was weird for him and me. I felt a little awkward.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was, who was it? I think it was Trent Horn's wife. She got a lot of flack online because she basically in a podcast said, I don't have male friends. And the reason why is because I know that I'm human and that there are times when, like, if you're not careful, if you don't put the appropriate boundaries on, that things could happen. And
that's how affairs can happen, guys. It really is.
And I think that it's important to be kind and courteous to your male coworkers. Always. And like maybe your spouse's friends or whatever. But I do think that personally, I think there should be a very strong boundary.
There can be such thing as an emotional affair.
Yeah. And that's I think women, I think I read this poll once and it was like men can, they can forgive emotional affairs and women can, forgive physical affairs. Yes. But not the opposite.
Yeah. It's anecdotally very true.
Yeah. So, but another question I have goes into, because you kind of, the whole reason that you accepted was like this idea of duty. Like, I have this duty to my friends. So what duties do we have and what responsibilities do we have for our friends as the friend? Like, we've been talking about making friends, but once we have a friend, what are our responsibilities and duties to that person?
To be honest with them, to love them, to support them. My group of friends, we like to say we're all kind of odd in different ways. That's why we fit so well together. We know each other exactly as we are. We love and accept each other exactly the way we are. We feel free to tease each other mercilessly about it. And we feel free to step up and say, wait a minute, what are you doing? If we see a friend doing something that we don't think is healthy for them. We let them make their own decisions. We don't judge. But we love them all through it.
That's a great question. How can you stay in your own, like, there's a common saying, like, not my circus, not my monkey, right? And I think that helps people to kind of detach and stay on your own page. But how do you stay on your own page and yet, like, respect and help someone who's making a bad decision or who needs to make a decision in a better direction? How do you do those two things? They don't seem like they would be...
Right. My
compatible.
thought with my friends, like my close friends, is it's always my circus and they are always my monkeys. Now, I will not interfere in what they're doing, but if I see something, I'll speak up and say, do you need to problem solve this? Do you need me?
Yeah.
If you don't, tell me to shut up, and that's okay.
Is that how you would do it respectfully, basically?
Yes.
Yeah. Because could you give another example of how someone might do it respectfully? Like, what kind of like, is there any like phrases that might help them guide that in a way? Because I think sometimes we can try to mean well and then say something
it sounds judgy.
Yeah, or even judgy or accusatory. Yeah, like
bring it up like you're concerned, like, I've noticed lately that you seem pretty down, or I've noticed lately that the past 3 times we were going to do something, you've declined, saying that your new boyfriend wants to spend time together. And I totally support your relationship, but I'm wondering, is it because you want to do that, or was he making a demand? Because I worry. You seem really unhappy and you seem like you're not doing the things you used to do. I just want to make sure you're getting to make your own choices.
Mm-hmm. So, bringing it from, that's good. Bringing it from your own noticing and concern.
It's not about me that I didn't get to see you. It's whatever you're doing. If it's you wanting to do it, I support it. But I just noticed you seem down, and I've noticed some things that concern me. So are you okay? And
then however they respond to that, then just...
Oh, no, it's fine. Okay, great. I just want you to know if anything ever goes wrong or you need me, I'm here.
Okay. So just, it's kind of like ongoing support.
Yeah.
But...
And I'm planting a seed. Maybe she's been thinking that in the back of her mind. And now that I've brought it up, she's like, no, that's real because other people have noticed.
Yeah, interesting.
Right? And maybe they could bring it up and talk about it and resolve it. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or maybe she notices it and says something and he keeps it up and they don't stay together. But either way, I'm there.
Right.
I'm not going to tell her what to do. Not at all. That's not our job.
How important is it to have friends that are in the same vocation as you? And then how important is it to have friends like intervocationally? And I mean big V and little V vocation.
Right.
So,
yep. Yeah. It's really fun having friends who are a variety of religious faiths. It's the core group of friends that I have are Catholic, and we just fit together on all levels and we understand each other. It's neat, but I love hearing about other people's faith and so that doesn't prevent us being friends. And I actually learn different things, different places, right? As far as professions, it's cool to have friends that are psychologists because we could talk about geeky stuff nobody else understands. But I really love having friends of all other vocations because it gets me out into the real world, and I'm not just talking about academic concepts or legal concepts. I actually learn stuff about what an engineer does or what construction workers do, all right? And plus, if you have a friend that's in construction, they can help you fix stuff at your house.
Yeah, that's also helpful.
Which is really cool.
And here's another like push into that same question is, I think in my life right now, I'm trying to create this Catholic bubble because I'm trying to solidify a set of values for our children, right? So it seems like we only hang out with young Catholic moms of the same age, whatever, right? Same stage, whatever. And we're trying to...
That sounds familiar.
instill certain values. It could be like no technology, whatever it is, right? Whatever you decide that is important to you for your core values. But as your kids get older, I'm assuming that those friends will probably always be there, but is it important for us to not live in a bubble as well?
Yes.
And how should we do that?
Let's live in the world. Let's interact with all kinds of folks. That gives you a chance to talk with your kids. Yeah, my friend so-and-so at school, like made a new friend, they're 6, right? Said and did this. Oh, how did you feel about that? And maybe it was they shoved and hit another kid. How did you feel about that? Well, I didn't think it was very nice. Oh, okay, maybe that's someone you don't want to be friends with, that they keep doing that, right? Or when they're 15, kid at school offered me drugs. Like, oh, hey, so what do you think about drugs? Well, I think they're stupid. I don't ever want to. Okay, it's okay to not hang around with that person. But if you keep them in a bubble, they'll never have those experiences and never be able to learn how to manage those experiences in a healthy way.
What about, as parents, I guess, going back to this idea of kid friendships, are there different ways to help facilitate friendships with your younger children at like their developmental milestones? And how I typically think of kids' milestones is probably less specific than most like professionals, but it's kind of like before the age of reason, then that like preteen area, like maybe going into 14 and then like 15 to like 20. That's kind of like how I break up it in my head. But thinking of those, like how can you help your children, or if there's other parameters, like if you think there's actually different ways to help at different ages that I didn't mention, like how would you do that?
Depends on your child's personality and needs, but they always need social contact. So make sure you get them the amount of social contact they need, and watch that. If you're taking them to 3 play groups a week and they are exhausted and throwing a fit by the second one, you're overstimulating them, right? So get them the amount of social contact they need. And in that stage, right, you're teaching them to work and play well with others. This is our manners. This is how we share. We don't hit, we don't bite, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As they get a little older, then they start talking about my best friend, right?
And when you say little older, what?
6, 7, 8,
okay.
right?
6, 7, 8. Okay.
They talk about best friends. They feel sad if they don't have a best friend. They start having maybe a little drama in friend groups earlier and earlier, it seems. So then you work with them to support them using their words. Well, when your friend said that, did you tell them how you felt about it? Well, no, I didn't know what to say. Oh, let's talk about how you might bring that up, or talk with a friend if they say something that hurts your feelings. You don't teach them that it's okay to ignore a problem. Teach them how to approach it and solve it.
Is that language like helpful earlier than 6, 7, 8?
Oh, I use the same words no matter what age, because I want them to hear it and learn it.
Okay.
Did you use your words? Did you talk about it? Right. And as they get older, I'll be like, well, did you tell them how you felt about it? I mean,
yeah, same thing, but
same thing.
Okay.
Because I want that consistent message over time. And my kid got to understand that my first question would be, well, what did you do? Like, what did you talk about it? What did you, like, we had a fight today, my best friend Hunter and me. Well, because Hunter yelled at me. Well, what did you do, dear? Well, I yelled back. Okay. Was that healthy? What do you think? What could you have done instead? No judging, just like I want you to think about what you did as part of the problem and what you could have done that might have helped the situation.
Yeah.
And then I will validate all to heck your emotions. I'm sorry. It must be frustrating that your friend yelled at you.
Yeah.
Right? I'll always do that. But I want you to think first about what you did, because that's where we start personal accountability.
And is that still at the 6, 7, 8, or is that more like teenager age as well?
Especially teenager, but I started that young. I started that when he was 3, started going to preschool.
Okay.
Like, he'd come home. For a while, it was all friends, and then one day he came home. So-and-so was mean to me, and, well, okay, so-and-so did this. Well, I'm sorry you've had a bad day, sweetheart. Can you tell me what you did? What did you do when so-and-so did this? And I just started it then.
Okay.
Always, I'm sorry you had a bad day. Always.
Yeah.
But, oh, wow. Maybe next time something like that happens, you could try this. Brainstorming ideas.
Yeah. Okay. And then what is one thing that anyone could do today to start either deepening their friendship or making a new friendship?
Start getting to know who you are. We can't connect authentically with others unless we know who we are, what we value, what we will put up with, what we won't, like what are our non-negotiables, flags we plant in the sand. Who are we, and what are our needs? And where are the boundaries? How far are we willing to go to meet the needs of others? Right? Because we need to set that healthy boundary before we can actually develop real friendships.
Yeah. I feel like I could go on to a whole set of questions based off that one answer, but we'll go ahead and close out, and then maybe we'll come back on to talk about how to discover yourself.
I like that.
I like that question. It's a great question to end with. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
It was great to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Desert Wanderers. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe down below. We're produced by Salt and Light Radio, so you can find us on social platforms at Salt and Light Radio or Desert Wanderers Podcast. We produce episodes every week and we launch them for you on Wednesdays. So make sure to tune in for next week's episode, and we'll see you then.